Hello everyone and welcome to The Mind Behind the Mic, the official podcast by the Psychology Club at RIT Dubai. I'm your host Mariyam Suboh and I'm the Vice President of Awareness for the club, and today we've got a really exciting guest on the mic. Joining me is Dr. Sonakshi, a counseling psychologist and couples therapist. But don't worry, this isn't going to be an episode about heartbreaks and breakups and love. This is going to be an episode about the reality of therapy, the psychology behind all kinds of relationships, and what it's really like to work in mental health. So if you're a psychology student or not, there's something in here for you. Dr. Sonakshi, welcome. How are you doing, Professor?
You. Thank you very much for inviting me, Mariyam. I'm doing very, very well, and it's lovely to be the first person here on this show. Yeah. Thank you for thinking for me.
I'm also very glad that you're with me here on the first episode.
Thank you.
Let's start from the very beginning, not just the degrees and the credentials, but the why behind it all. Because after asking psychologists and professionals in psychology, I noticed that everyone has a different path into psychology. It's usually unique and different and often personal.
Yeah.
So can I ask you, Professor, can you walk us through the first moment or experience that made you realize that psychology was your passion?
Okay, that's long back. I think I finished my school around 2005. So psychology accidentally fell into my lap. It's not something that I originally planned for. I was following the footsteps of my father, so I wanted to get into HR. So the eventual strategy was get into BBA, do MBA HR, live your life comfortably. And I met one of the principals of a university called Delhi University. And she told me, everybody does run-of-the-mill, Sonakshi, you're not run-of-the-mill. Run-of-the-mill way is BBA, MBA. You're meant for doing psychology and then getting into HR, because that will give you an edge. You'll be able to understand people and that will give you an edge. And that's how psychology fell in my lap. I loved it in the first few instances I remember. But then more and more I studied psychology, I realized that human resource was not something that I wanted to get into. I didn't want to get into organizations. I actually started to see the need for counseling a lot more, because the more I was doing psychology, the more people were coming to me for their discussions or generally opening up. And I realized that if I have 100 friends, all 100 of them need counseling of some or the other type. There was nobody who said, oh, I'm absolutely okay, I don't think I have any problems in life. So for me, it was a very natural inclination towards counseling psychology, because it deals with your normal day-to-day concerns and makes you more empowered.
Yeah.
So then everybody needed counseling. And that was a very good power that I felt. I felt very strong when I knew psychology, or when people approached me and they thought, oh, she's a psychology student, so let me go speak to her. So that was my attraction. I was infatuated with psychology.
Yeah.
And then gradually I fell in love with it.
That's such a precious story, actually.
Thank you.
Thinking about it. But what made you gravitate towards couples therapy out of all the other specializations?
That was not my first choice. I actually started off as a child psychologist.
Really?
Yes. And I was not good at it. And this is something which is very important for us to note, because the moment we do psychology, we feel we can work in any area, and that's not the right approach ever. So the moment I started to try myself into child psychology, I started to work with special needs children, I realized that I lacked two things. One, I was empathetic and sympathetic. I was very drawn towards them. I would find myself very difficult to emotionally detach with children. And the second thing that I noticed was that I didn't have the patience enough, because I wanted to speak to somebody of my age or more.
Yeah.
My patience level to speak to a child or to understand them was not as high. So the success in that field was not coming naturally to me.
Yeah.
And so then I started to think a lot more. So the first year that I did child psychology, the results didn't come so good. And that's something that I started to think about, and that's when there was a particular degree course at that time that was available in marriage and family therapy. It was a certification course at NIMHANS, which is National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences in Bangalore in India, and it's one of the most popular universities. So my attraction was, it's a very popular university, it's a novel course, let me just try and do it. But the moment I did it, and when I started to literally think about togetherness, belongingness, couples, marriages, families, relationships, and I started to realize that everybody is in a relationship. So, because everybody is in a relationship, eventually, this is always going to be a popular field. See, not everybody will have children, but everybody is in some or the other type of relationship, whether it's marriage, whether it's, sibling relationship, sibling rivalry, friendship, anything. So there were always, I thought this was a more wide range, specialization or domain. And so my attraction towards it was a lot more. And then when I started working in that field, the success rate went up to 88 to 92%. We were able to solve cases, clients started to come naturally to me. So I found my domain by trying different professions.
Yeah. I feel like it also matches like so good with your personality.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you also, what do you think is the most rewarding part of your job? Like something that makes you think, yes, this is why I do this. This is what I want to do forever.
See, when I talk in terms of reward, I think the most rewarding is when couples are able to get back together after a dispute or a conflict or a fight. I've had success rate where there was a couple who was, living apart for 8 years. The children were separated. The sister was living with the mother. The brother was living with the father, and those kind of cases. But when they come back in our therapy sessions, in 12 sessions, we are able to fix the family and they start to live together. That I think is very, very rewarding. And I think more and more it's more rewarding for me because I'm able to really work with youngsters, like below 30 years of age. This young crowd who's actually going through difficulty having a footing or cementing their relationships, when they're able to see it clearly, saying, oh my God, this is what I was doing wrong in the relationship. Wow, I'm going to change it and then maximize my potential in that relationship. When those things start to happen, that's very rewarding. Like recently I had a case where there was a 21-year-old girl who booked the session, paid full fee in cash. She would have probably taken it from her parents and said, I'm going to give this as a gym money, but came to the therapy session. And, she said, I met this boy 6 months back. I told him either we'll go a long way or I'll enter therapy. So help me. So, when in 6 months' time, something could be such a distraught affair or could be something which is such a painful experience for you. And when we are able to make her see clearly how she was devaluing herself and overvaluing the boy in the relationship. And when she's able to see that and then she rectifies her value.
And it's healthy for both of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A devalued person will accept anything and everything in life. And so you have to correct your value. If you don't know that let's say you have 100 dirhams, that's the value that you can offer right now. And if somebody possibly tells you, no, you cannot, I'll only give you 50, you will never settle for 50 because you have 100 already. So that kind of things is very rewarding in my therapy sessions.
Okay, so on the flip side, I'm very sure that there are so many challenges that come with this job. Can you tell me what is one challenge for you doing this job?
And it's a recent one, but let me tell you, most of us as psychologists, we have our clinical meetings. And in these clinical meetings, most of the discussion these days is about how relationships are changing over a period of time. The definition of relationships are changing. The way people are coming and their expectations from the therapy are changing. And that has become a challenge for us. Like, you probably would have heard the word of a nano relationship, small relationship, which lasts 3 days, 4 days. It's a proper full-fledged relationship that is there, but it lasts very small time. Then, expectations of the clients is, okay, I think I'm having a panic attack at this point of time. So I just need some CBT. Could you do some CBT for me? cognitive behavior therapy. So the client
Yeah.
has become more aware, or they're extremely well read
Yeah.
sometimes, but their expectations from the therapists have changed. And I think sometimes that's a challenge. The challenge to be able to understand that the world is actually, going through future shock. If you know future shock, Alvin Toffler gave this term. It basically means when there is too much change that happens in too short a period of time.
Too much age?
Change.
Oh,
Too
change.
much change happens in too short a period of time.
Yeah.
So then everybody's confused. And I think that's what they're bringing to therapy these days. There is too much change in the way you see relationships these days. There's too much change in the way you see therapy these days, or you have the expectation to be your best self, or seeking happiness, manifestations.
Yeah.
So there's so much change that's happening in such short period of time that people are actually more confused and disoriented. And that's what they're bringing to therapy. So therapy has become challenging over a period of time.
Yes, and I also can imagine like now with social media,
Yes.
misconceptions spread like very fast.
Absolutely.
And like imagine someone coming and they're so like they believe so much in their misconception, and how would you like prove it that they're wrong?
Like, as simple as, Mariyam, I can share with you that, children look at these reels on Instagram and they come and tell me, oh, ma'am, I'm dating somebody who's avoidant in nature. Ma'am, I'm dating somebody who's anxious, avoidant personality type. Oh, ma'am, I think I'm dating someone, she's narcissistic. So, because all these reels give you that information, you bring that picture, and now, initially we used to work with clients who were clean slate. They didn't know anything and it was easier to work. Now we are working with clients who overknow stuff. And so to be able to clean their slate first and say, no, this is not narcissism, your spouse is not somebody who's avoidant, and then work through that is a little more difficult.
Yeah, it's so hard, especially if they form this like rigid belief about it.
Absolutely.
Can I ask you if like working in therapy has affected the way you view your own relationships?
I would give you an absolute honest answer in this, because if there is anybody who says otherwise, I think they're lying. It is a professional hazard, let me tell you.
Yeah.
One of the I'm not sure if it's a good gift or a bad gift, but that's given by therapy to me in my 15-16 years of experience now, is detached attachment. Like I find I personally in relationships I'm invested, but I'm fairly detached as well. So I understand that if need be, I can walk out of this room unaffected. And that's what therapy has done to me over a period of time, especially because I work in the area of relationships and couples therapy and marriages and family. And most of the time I look at cases which are either infidelity, emotional cheating, or unsatisfactory relationships, or sometimes divorces I see very commonly. So because of that, as a the byproduct of that is that I don't easily invest into something, but if I invest into something, I do understand that I'm able to get up unaffected. Like I can walk out of the relationship, feel bad for the first 10 days, 11th day I'm okay.
You can move on.
I can move on very easily. And so I have developed a detached attachment as a person with anything and anyone. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing at this point of time.
I think it's a good thing.
It is a good thing, but then sometimes relationship expectations is that, oh, how could you move on so easily?
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't love enough.
And they would take it personally.
Absolutely.
So it's just like your personality.
And even with immediate family, like if my mother has called me and I know that she's unwell, but she's in safe hands, and if I'm at work, I will finish my work and call her, and she might just be upset that you were not there. No, I was there. I made sure you were okay, but I'm able to balance both.
Yes.
And which is difficult for her to fathom. So the relationship expectations sometimes can be like that.
Yeah, I can imagine that would shape like a disadvantage. Okay, so now that we know a little more about why you got into therapy and how, I want us to delve deeper into the therapy room itself. Know what therapy actually is beyond the myths and the cliches that we hear a lot nowadays with social media.
Yeah.
So, Professor, I want to ask you this fun question, and I want you to imagine that you're explaining your job to a 10-year-old child. How would you describe that?
That's a very good question. If I was explaining my job to a 10-year-old child, and my 10-year-old child would be in school, right? Yes,
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
definitely will be in school. So
they would be like fourth grade or
yeah,
something.
fourth grade or so. I'd probably tell them, do you go for physical education? Do you play sports? Do you have a sports teacher? Does she guide you? So, like someone is there who is a sports teacher taking care of your physical health, I am a teacher who takes care of the mental health of your mind. That's the best thing I think I can do. I don't know. But that's a very interesting question. I'll think a lot more about it. But I think the only way I can possibly explain to a 10-year-old is I make sure that your mind and your heart is happy.
I feel like they would get a lot of follow-up questions after that.
Actually.
Like, how do you do that? Do you read my mind?
Do you read my mind?
My brother, he really thinks that I read his mind. Whenever he's like, he doesn't want me to understand something, he covers his forehead. I'm like, let him believe this for now.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. In your point of view, what is one belief that you think should be about therapy that you think should be completely redefined or even thrown out?
This is a very good question that I also share with my clients. You know, most of the clients feel that in case they come to therapy, they're powerless or helpless.
Yeah.
You know, that they're not able to handle their situations by themselves, that they need to take the help of somebody externally. I don't think of therapy like that at all. I think therapy is something which gives you power. Therapy is something which understands that you have power and that you just need to revise it. That's all. So I tell my clients, what I do is, like you go to a petrol station, right? You've parked your car, you're filling petrol in your car, and there is a guy who comes outside and cleans the window for you, and you're able to see clearly. Yeah, before that you were sitting, you were watching the whatever, you know, but now you're able to see clearly because that guy has just wiped off the, you know, dirt off the window. That's all that I do, of the mirror. That's all that I do. You already have the power, you already have the solutions. I just ensure that you're able to see clearly and I guide you the path through this. That's all that I do. So just because somebody else wiped your mirror, they don't become powerful, you don't become powerless.
Yeah. Like being able to see the properly and clearly is not a weakness.
It's not a weakness.
After someone has helped you.
Not at all. See, it's about expertise, right? You can't cut your own hair. Sometimes you go to hair salon for it. They're experts. Right? Likewise, that does not mean if somebody chop off your hair and they have expertise in that they're powerful, you're powerless. That kind of dynamic. So I often say, please do not think that you're powerless, helpless, or oh my God, I have to seek therapy. No, everyone should seek therapy. Keep the number of the therapist in your phone and on the speed dial. You should remember, okay, this is what it is. It's be like, you know, insurance guys. Oh yeah, please give a call, you know, help yourself.
Yeah. And unfortunately, like, I also hear it a lot from like so many places, that going to therapy is a weakness. No, don't do it. You can do it by yourself. Help yourself. Be more religious or stuff like this. But this connection is very wrong.
That is not the right way of thinking about therapy.
Yeah. Now let's switch gears and get a little bit more creative. I've made this segment where I merged imagination with psychology. And this segment is called Psych Outside the Box. Okay, so I'm going to throw some quirky what-if questions at you, and you just answer with whatever comes to your mind. There's no right or wrong, of course. It's pure imagination. So if you could instantly give every student in the university a psychological skill or mindset, what would it be?
If I could give somebody a psychological skill, actually, I would assertiveness. I would want the students to be assertive, to learn to say no very easy. Most of the times I see students are very passive these days, or they're aggressive. So, I mean, actually two skills. One skill I would definitely give is assertiveness. I would want them to be able to learn to say no to things. So that makes you understand your own value very well. And the second thing I would want is to reach out to people. Like I feel a lot of them are very individualistic these days. I wish they had the social skills to be able to engage with larger groups of people, or be able to go and tell somebody, I need you to speak to you today.
Yeah.
So that kind of a social skill. But I have that. If I need help, I will walk up, and I don't care for the age, I don't care for this. I just say, hey, could you please speak to me, or I am feeling this, and so many times I do that. So that social skill and assertiveness is what I'll give them.
So let's say, for example, you create a course on campus that every student has to take. What's the name of that course?
Behavioral skills.
Nice.
I would want them to take some behavioral skills, I think. Yeah, value how, we as individuals don't realize how we are contributing to the society and then the overall nation. So if we are able to understand how individual, society and nation are all working towards each other in some way or the other, then it's much better. So I think behavioral skills is something that I would like to teach. Value-based psychology, behavioral skills, that's what is missing in the generation today.
Then we'll add it for you. You'll be the instructor.
Yeah.
If you could step inside one client's mind for only 30 seconds, purely to understand them better, what would you search for?
It's a very typical question. What would I search for? Wow, I've never been stumbled on a podcast.
Would you maybe I'm thinking you would want to see what their impression of you is. Do they feel safe sharing with you? Like something like this?
That I think verbatim they share over a period of time, behaviorally also.
Would you like to see a trauma, for example?
Yes, I mean that's exactly what I was thinking of. What are they afraid of? I would, resistance comes in therapy. Definitely client is resistant in therapy. And resistance comes from either past traumatic relationships or past traumas in general, or it comes from them being afraid of something, fearful of something. So if I really get an insight into a client's mind for 30 seconds, I would want to see where are they stuck, what is it that's pulling them back, the anger, the trauma, the fear, the resistance. These are kind of things that I would like to work on. Yes. But let me tell you, this is one of the most wonderful questions I've heard in a podcast in a long, long time.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to reflect on this one even after the podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If inner peace, it came in a box. So I want you to imagine IKEA now. If inner peace came in a box, what would be written on the user manual?
Oh, wow. What?
The creativity.
What would be written on a user manual if it came in, inner peace came in a box? Wow. Restore and recharge it?
That was unexpected.
Yeah, restore and recharge it, because happiness and everything definitely is important, but what is the most difficult thing to find these days is mental peace, inner peace. So I think if there was, then I would just tell them to, I'll say, do not open the box, keep it as it is. If you have inner peace, just save it. Keep it in your savings box.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I really liked this segment, did you?
I was actually, thrown back with this. I'm like, yeah, this is very interesting. One should think on those lines. So very creative.
I really feel like it's fun to think of psychology beyond the textbooks and the academia and everything. Now let's bring it back to campus life and mental health in the student world. So we all agree that university life, it can be amazing, but sometimes we also admit that it can get extremely overwhelming. So let's talk about how students can take better care of their minds. And I want to ask you this question. Did you ever notice a pattern across students that is affecting their mental health, but it's going unnoticed?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I will share something interesting with you. So I teach psychological disorders. This time I taught psychological disorders across 4 sections, 120 students. I taught them depression, I taught them anxiety, I taught them so many things. There was a class on trauma that I was taking, and it was supposed to be 2 sessions only that I had to take throughout the 4 sections. And I started to notice that the students were way more attentive. They were listening to me. They were not taking breaks in between. They were not walking out of the classroom. So I suddenly, out of nowhere, asked them, and all 4 sections I asked. I said, I've explained to you what trauma is, this, that, X, Y, Z. Can I ask you to raise your hand if you've gone through a traumatic experience once in your life?
Everyone?
You will not believe. One class had 80% of the students raise their hand, the other had 85% of the students raise their hand, the other had 70% and the other had 80% of the students raise their hand. And I was very shocked with that, because I expect that when students specifically at the university, which is RIT, come from a certain strata, certain background, certain family backgrounds, X, Y, Z. So how does one perceive trauma? And what could be so traumatic that 80% of the students have been raising their hand was surprising for me.
Yes.
Was very surprising for me.
Do you think it was accurate?
Definitely. They were more sensitive, they were more receptive. And if I asked them, they would start to talk about their traumatic experiences in confidentiality. So whether it was traumatic experiences of friendship and betrayal, whether it was traumatic experiences of how they were not understood at schools and how they were treated at schools,
Yes.
or traumatic experiences with parents, or traumatic experiences with having multiple siblings and not getting your share of love and affection and feeling like you already have 5 children, so why do you care about me? Things like that. But it was amazing for me to see that there are such traumatic experiences, and that's how, if you see, most of the students would develop this habit where they're not opening up and venting out, they're not talking to somebody. If I leave the entire class for 10 minutes and I come back, everybody's on their phones. They don't engage with each other.
Mechanism.
Yes, so it's an escapism. It's a way of escaping a reality. It's also, a certain kind of addiction. It's one way. Your phone doesn't talk back with you. Your phone is not asking questions to you.
Yes.
So then, it's comforting to be able to keep the trauma within you and not open up.
I also remember one of the professors once told us that we look at our phones so many times during a session.
Yeah.
And he was like, this is the biggest amount of times that I've ever seen students looking at their phones.
Yeah. I was in a class, and because, examples really help you, so therefore I'm sharing this with you. I once went to a psychology class, and I had a box with me, and I asked the students when they were entering the class, I said, just leave your phone here. We're going to leave your phone in this box for 30 minutes. Okay? 50 minutes, the class duration. And they're like, ma'am, really? I said, yeah. I said, look, my phone is there already, so you put your phones as well. And what I noticed was, in the first 5-7 minutes, they started to, less than 5-7 minutes, they started to get jittery. Then they started to get fidgety. Then they started to become very annoyed, like they were answering, but they were angry, they were giving me glares. And I told them, if you cannot manage your social anxiety for 50 minutes, how would you help a client outside? If you cannot manage yourself without a phone for this 50 minutes, how will you deal with someone's phone addiction?
Yes.
And so then, after a while, they started to become okay. And then I made it like a ritual that, first 10 minutes, 15 minutes, the phone will be till the first break, the phone will be in the box. And then they got conditioned to it. So I remember, that was a semester system. So 2 months down the line, I didn't get the box once. And I remember the students entered and they asked me, where's the box? Like, where are we keeping the phone? So they understood the idea that if they cannot manage themselves, it will be very difficult to manage people outside and clients outside.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think it should be like even written in the DSM as a type of an addiction.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, social media addiction. Again, another interesting thing is that there was a student research presentation where they did on social media addiction, and we were running through.
Yeah, I saw your Instagram stories.
My God,
I saw
and I
that.
was, yeah, it was shocking for me as well, because I didn't know that Instagram records the amount of time that you spend on Instagram. And I started asking students randomly, how much time do you spend? How much time do you spend? Somebody said 3 hours. Somebody said 1 hour 48 minutes. Somebody says 2 hours, 2 hours 10 minutes. Then there was this boy who said, I spent 1 hour and 48 minutes in a week. And I was like, wow, I'm such a fan of you. And then somebody said, ma'am, can you show how much time do you spend on Instagram?
Busted.
And there was another student, she said, look, I do only 28 minutes. And I said, I'm sure, in my head I was thinking, I don't know much of Instagram. But when that figure came, it came 2 hours and 4 minutes. And when that came, I was like, wow. And believe me, Mariyam, because I do university and clinic, every day I spend 8.5 to 10 hours working.
Yes.
Then I'm spending 2 hours on Instagram because I'm flipping through, or I'm watching some Korean cinema or something. And so I do realize that, 2 hours is too much. And that day, till now, you would not have seen a single post of me, because I really deactivated myself from, not deactivated, like logged out from Instagram and Facebook. And I said, I'm going to now. And since the time I've done that, I sleep at 10:30, 11. Straight away. I'm sleeping 10 hours, which is so nice.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I think I'm also going to delete Instagram. What's one underrated habit you think helps students with resilience?
Underrated habit.
Yeah.
I think social support system really helps students. Sometimes the ability to, you're resilient because you have a 3 a.m. friend.
Yeah.
You're resilient because, you've had a fight with somebody at, I was discussing this with a student. She said in the last 1 month, she's had a massive betrayal, some friendship related issues at college. And the person is in the college. So I asked her, why are you not coming to classes? So she said, I'm not coming to the classes not because of you, I love the subject, but because this friend of mine is in the university and we've had a fall apart. Right? So we'd had a fallout with each other. So I find it very difficult. So then I said, okay, but there must be other friends also, right? And she said, yeah, there are other friends who are supportive. So I said, let's take their support. So come for them.
Yeah.
Not for this, So then that kind of thing. So I think her social support system helped her become more resilient. She started coming to the classes again.
Yeah.
So that
It's
is
so
helpful.
powerful,
Yeah, it
yeah.
is very powerful.
And I think we need to raise more awareness regarding
100%.
this. What would you say to a student that feels completely lost about their future? Especially like now, we have this pressure to have it figured all out,
Yeah.
by 20.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Seek help. Sometimes you don't have the answers for everything. So find people who have the answers. That is my suggestion. I think people get comfortable in confusion, in their confused state. They want to stay in that and then talk about how confused they are. I'm a person who's solution oriented. If I'm confused about something, I'll find an expert who knows the answer. So I suggest to students, seek help.
Yeah.
Go to an expert and say, these are what my options. And second most important thing, which I think is missing in students today, like I asked this question to a couple of my students, saying, hey guys, what is the plan for summer? And they would say, just travel, eat, sleep. I come from a very different mindset. My plan for summer would be, if there are 2 months of summer, definitely I'm working somewhere for 1.5 months. Because I need to volunteership, I need volunteering, I need internship, I need to be able to understand job, how does it work, what does it function, and things like that. So I find this is a difficult system sometimes when students don't see this as an important aspect, but it's very important to work to be able to understand what do you like working with.
Yeah.
So,
and something similar happened with me, honestly. I was starting to get more interested in organizational psychology, but when I involved myself more into it, I was like, I don't think it matches with my ultimate goal.
Yeah.
And I felt like clinical psychology matches more.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and this only came like after trying and involving myself.
Like for example, I find it difficult to work in the area of disability, because I'm not my own self. I have a chicken heart. So, I really find myself very drawn thinking about them constantly, sympathizing. So, as a trauma counselor, as a war and grief counselor, these kind of grief counseling sessions, um, I have known myself to be not my strength, only because I worked in that area.
Yeah.
So, I was working as an HIV counselor in India for a while. And the youngest child that I held in my hand who was suffering from HIV was 9 months old because the mother was affected. So I remember when I held that child, and when we would have discussions that we possibly have to tell this child that he will only live for 20 years. Or I worked with this organization called Can Kids, where there were cancer affected kids. And they're less than 5 years of age, and when they would go through their chemotherapy sessions, it is such a painful session that when a child would cry, it was devastating to my heart. I could not sleep, I could not eat, I could not speak to my family, I found it difficult to drive back home. And I understood that this is not an area where I will ever be effective, but because I worked in that area, I know this.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, so I wish that children and students really expose themselves to areas of work to be able to understand, okay, I like this. This is where I suit.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's something that's important.
I think that's a very precious advice, especially that now, we're applying for internships and everything.
Yeah.
So we can be more open to try.
Absolutely.
Even the things that we don't think that we're best at.
And in different areas. Try yourself in schools, try yourself in organization, try yourself with counseling centers, clinical centers, NGOs. Try, because you can afford to, you have time.
Yes.
See, bachelor's means you're exploring. Master's means you're specializing.
I remember when you said that in class. Yeah.
So, in bachelor's you can afford to try yourself in different avenues. But by master's you should be sure this is the area that you're getting into.
Yeah, and just delve deeper into it.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up, I want us to do a quick one more fun segment.
Okay.
And I call this one the rapid fire round. Okay, so short questions, quick answers. No
I'll try my
overthinking
best.
allowed.
I'll try my best.
Ready?
Yes, please.
Let's go. A book every psychology student should read.
Man's Search for Meaning.
An underrated skill in therapy that no one talks about.
Micro skills.
Therapy in one word.
Catharsis.
Your personal favorite self-care ritual.
Self-care ritual. Oh, I follow a good skincare ritual, which I think is my self-care ritual. And I team it up with, I have a night sleep ritual where I listen to sleep meditation music. I do my skincare and I light up a candle and I manifest and I write the gratitude journal.
That's such a nice routine.
Yeah.
Your go-to comfort food after a heavy session.
Biryani.
Biryani.
It's my comfort food. I like warm food. I like hot food. So I look at couples and I look at 5 couples in a day. I look at actually 15 couples in a week. That's the rate at which I see couples.
Mashallah.
So touch wood, by 3rd and 5th, after the 5th session, usually it can be a very exhausting and draining session, because the couples have different wavelengths at which they speak. So I rush to eat something hot. So a plate of biryani, or even a good salon and rice is something that I would love.
Nice.
Yeah.
One red flag phrase that people use in relationships.
Red flag phrase that people use in relationship. One red flag phrase that people use in relationships.
It can be any type of relationships.
When I don't know how to phrase it but when they feel that your person is just your person, they cannot be anyone else. That becomes a red flag, because by nature itself we're designed to be multilingual, multifunctional, and so when you want one relationship to be everything, then that becomes the problem. That's a red flag.
Selfishness.
It is selfishness.
Yeah.
Unachievable also. It's not achievable.
Yeah.
Like you and I cannot be the only people that know each other in this world.
Yes.
So, that is, I think, the red flag in general, I feel.
Yeah. What is one green flag in friendships that you love?
Exclusivity. if you and I are very, very good friends, then the world can see that we are actually exclusive to each other, we are very good friends. That is missing. One of the unfortunate things is sometimes even if I go to a party these days and there are several people, I can't really understand who's the couple here. Because they treat each other so similarly that I find it difficult. Oh, this one's wife. Really? I thought this one was this one's wife or this one's husband.
Oh my God.
So for me, a green flag is exclusivity when couples and people seek each other, like families seek each other.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's in a party or a meeting, that whole idea that you're able to see this person and say, oh, they're in love with each other, this is a couple, this is a family, that exclusivity is a green flag for me.
Yes. What's one psychology myth that makes you laugh?
That we can read faces.
Especially my brother covering his forehead.
No, I've lost a lot of, friends in life because they just thought, oh my God, is she reading us? Is she reading us? Like, what is this? And I see a lot of students don't make eye contact with me.
They think you can read
them. And in fact, after 3 months now, there was a student, and I said, oh guys, it's the last day. Do you guys have anything for me? Anything? And then the student says, just want to understand how much do you know us now? Like, so I said, I do know you. Yeah, tell me. I said, this. How do you know me? I said, you just asked the question. Obviously, I've observed your behavior. So over a period of time. But if you think I know you 100%, that's not true. I'm observing behavior. I'm observing things like if I teach you this, what is your expression? From there I gather it.
It's like getting to know them like more as you communicate with them.
But they feel like, oh, she knows us.
Yeah, I think it's just that like in psychology we study like a lot about the mind and human behavior and human thought.
Yeah.
So that's why people think, because like for example I feel like you can give a reliable prediction of what one would act if this happens, for example.
Also because it's universal features, right? I mean, see, imagine this student that I'm talking about, his way of listening to me. He's an auditory, auditory person. His skill basis, he listens to the lecture. He will not visually, he's not look up and everything. So he has a habit of looking into his phone, okay, and listening to the lecture, right? The moment he starts to look up, I know his concentration is now broken. So there was some point that I said before, now he's daydreaming. So I know now he's daydreaming, he's not listening to me, he stopped listening to me. Though he's looking at me, he's not listening to me, he's daydreaming. So I go back to what did I say before this? I said this. And now he's thinking about his family. Or he's thinking about that. So I know he only listens to me when he's in his phone. And the moment he makes an eye contact with me or he keeps saying he's daydreaming, I've lost him.
Oh my God, that's so interesting.
Yeah, that's what I know.
Being able to understand this is so interesting. It makes giving lectures so much more fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for playing along. We're done with the rapid fire round.
Thank you.
So now as we come to an end, I really want to leave the audience with something to reflect on.
Yeah.
If there is any psychology student that is hearing us right now and they want to become a therapist one day, what is one thing they have to hear now and not later?
Very, very good question. And things that have helped me, I will tell you. One, work on your humor. Really, if you want to be a therapist, work on your humor. Work on the fact that people who are coming to you are rejected, dejected, unhappy, and you don't want to reflect that. So the easy you are on your foot, the more the client is drawn to you. So work on your humor, that's one. Number two, work on your body language today. You have to be very self-assured, very confident, because you're drawing people who are looking for an assured person. They're not looking for a person who's already confused, disoriented, anxious, running around like a headless chicken in the lobby. No, they're not looking for that. So when I have worked a lot on my body language in the last 15 years. So if you ever see me walk, I'll walk at my own pace. I will smile at my own pace. I will walk into the room, I'll address everybody, then I'll take, so things like that. Number three, most importantly, is work on your listening. It's very difficult to sit in a session. Sometimes the clients will say you can't take notes. So you have to listen to their conversation, understand what they're trying to imply to you. And most of the students these days have an attention span of a goldfish and less. So they daydream. I'm saying it's okay to daydream, but come back. So to be able to develop the habit of, okay, I'm listening to somebody, I might just start thinking something, my parallel thinking is going, but I have to come back because this story is more important. Or am I losing some context here?
It's a skill.
It's a skill. Fourth most important thing is ask for help, appreciate people, build thought-speech coordination. So if I think that you're doing a good job, I will just say it. I never keep it in my head. Even if I'm going in the campus, if I see somebody who's looking good, they might be uncomfortable, but I will give the compliment.
Yeah, I noticed this.
Yes.
You do this.
So thought-speech coordination for me works very well. What you're thinking, if you are able to speak, then there is nothing that's going to your subconscious. You're not rehearsing it.
Yeah.
You just said it, you're clean. Your system is clean.
And you have like a clearer mind.
You have a clear mind. You're not holding any thought. So work on that, because I feel these days students, they just think and overthink and ruminate and think and think more, but they're unable to speak. So therefore their subconscious is very heavy, their mind's very heavy, they're unable to sleep. Most of the students these days, because mind is exhausted but body isn't, or sometimes body is exhausted but the mind is still active because they're thinking. So because of that mismatch, most of the time they're unable to sleep. So that, I think, is a very important advice that I would give to students.
It is one that we will take.
Yeah.
And lastly, for anyone listening, whether they were a psychology student or not, what is one message you want them to take from this episode?
One of the things that I understood a little late, but I would want people to understand, is that you've got to experience life in its totality. Really. You have to experience life. We are quite bound by, we like this, we don't like this, cultural conditionings and a lot of other things act on us. I feel take each day as it comes and experience life to its fullest. So a lot of, people I feel are hesitant in truly being themselves and experiencing, holistic happiness in general, as they say. So I would want them to be more experimentative in life and take life as it comes and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Another thing, Mariyam, that I've learned is I've never said no for something. I've always been okay for an experience in life. Like, when you reached out for a podcast, I started to look at how am I going to balance my day. So I did the university, took a session, came back, did your podcast. I have another session at 5 to 6, with my clients at the clinic. I will go for that session anytime. But I would just accommodate things to be able to give myself a full experience in life. And if I never came at the podcast, I would never know how brilliant you are, and so again, this is valuable.
Yes.
So add value to your life on an everyday basis by experiencing things. That's my takeaway.
And I'm pretty sure it was going to be easier for you to just say no. But thank you for coming. I really appreciate it.
Anytime. I'll be there for you.
Thank you again, Professor Sonakshi, for sharing with us, all of us actually. I was going to say with me, but it's all of us. Your journey and your insights and also your humor. This has been really a good conversation. To everyone listening, thanks for tuning in to The Mind Behind the Mic. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure you also follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn for any updates regarding upcoming events and guests. Make sure you also check Dr. Sonakshi's social media and my social media down below in the description. This was Mariyam Suboh, and until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and most importantly, don't forget to keep questioning the mind behind the mic.